What it do, Dream Team? It's your boy D Neal back with another reaction video, guys. Here we are with the real reason American food is unhealthy. Before we dive in, make sure you subscribe to the channel, ring notification bell, get a video a thumbs up so it gets suggested. If you guys got a favorite video suggestion, you can subscribe to Patreon or drop it in the comment section. Evan, talk to me.
High sugar, high fat, companies allowed to mislead us every twist and turn. All of these things contribute to the general state of American food at the moment, but they're not really the main reason for all of this happening. You could blame capitalism, but that's not really the fault, considering that most countries in Europe in which this isn't really a problem, well, they follow capitalism for the most part. So what is it that they have that the US doesn't, that ends up causing all of these problems? Well, the point was actually pointed out by a comment from Ina Yuli, who says, it's almost like in some countries, health insurance exists. So the government has an interest in the health of the people, and in one, it doesn't.
I be saying that. I swear I think this exact thing. I think this, because I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Of course, these hospital bills be outrageous. So what do? They give us this food, they make us sick, they send us to the hospital, they pay these outrageous bills. And that's just, no, I'm just going along with that. I'm just saying I'm in agreement with Aunt Julie. I'm in agreement with this.
So the government has an interest in the health of the people, and in one, it doesn't.
Facts.
Interesting. Let me explain. If an American food company comes up with an amazing food product that's high in fat, high in calories, incredibly unhealthy, but also misleading to the consumer about these facts, well, it's a free country. They can do what they want. And if a consumer then eats a lot of this product and similar products and goes about their daily life, which usually because of the low public transit infrastructure in the States involves driving to and from every little place everywhere and is highly discouraged from walking or getting any modicum of exercise, well, it's a free country. And then down the line, when that same consumer ends up developing health complications as a direct correlation to this lifestyle, it's actually not a free country anymore because you've got to foot the bill for those health complications.
Facts!
So what incentive does the US government really have to ensure the health of its citizens? Well, you could say morally, but but financially, in the short term, there really isn't one. In the UK and most other countries with nationalized healthcare, if a citizen ends up developing health complications because of their nutritional deficits, because they didn't learn that much about it, or because companies are telling them that things are healthy when they're actually not and they consume too much of it, everybody has to foot that bill. All citizens have to pay into their national insurance, have to pay taxes to ensure that everybody is healthy. So, in fact, if they do not educate citizens on proper nutrition, and if they allow companies to go willy-nilly, egregiously lying and misleading customers about what's in their products, well, that means everyone has to pay more in taxes, and the government is going to have to pay too much to make sure that people are healthy. And so, they just have to spend a little bit more making sure that everybody is healthy, and now it's a utopia? It's not a utopia.
That's all I'm saying is I've been thinking this for a long time. What Evan's saying, I've been thinking. He's just putting it into words. That's all I'm going to say.
I mean, there's the turkey twistlers. Sometimes after I finish making a video, I still have so much more to learn, and so this is a community video. Thank you, Julie, for the first comment we're talking about today, in which we looked at the comments from my video where we looked at the American food that is banned around the world, because you guys had a lot of interesting stuff to say about that. At the end of my video, I ended up talking about how I just want to have this choice at the end of the day to choose the brightly colored snacks if I want. However, Madison Area has brought up that it's an interesting point at the end about right to choose. I don't see how Americans are choosing the unhealthy, sometimes outright poisonous food. It's not like the two versions are next to each other on the shelf. Very good point. At the same price. I would rather be able to trust my food isn't intentionally poisoning me for the sake of profit that the manufacturer and profit for the health service in the country I live.
My thing is, they don't have to be next to each other, but that same price one is the biggest point for me on that one, because that unhealthy food is going to be much cheaper than that healthier option. You feel me? So what do most people do? Most people, it's not like she said. Is it really a choice? If you can only afford this one, and you can't really, your budget doesn't help you maintain to be able to afford that one, you're going to buy this one. So I like that comment. I like that comment.
That is a really good point. It's one of those things where I'm thinking just that illusion of choice. Like, oh, I want to be able to choose the full fat milk, which is, I know, unhealthier, but I don't choose it often, so why not? I want to be able to choose the full Coca-Cola rather than the diet, because I'm not going to do it often, so I want to have that choice. But in both of those situations, you can get skim milk next to the whole milk. You can get a Coca-Cola next to the Diet Coke.
Yeah.
But for instance, the M&Ms, which we talked about in another video recently, it's not like you can have a choice in the US to buy the standard brightly colored ones that have a risk of giving your child hives, that have a risk of giving your children hyperactivity disorders, and the European versions, which don't have any of that. No, just in our market in the US, we make more money on this, so we're going to give you that. We have a choice. So I do think that is a really good point. If there actually was a choice, both options would be available, not just you have to choose the one that the company has realized makes them the most profits.
Facts.
Very good point. Next up, we've got,
Facts.
I'm from Belgium, and it always weirds me out how much brightly colored food I see in US TV series and movies. Food shouldn't be in brightly colored colors. I get you, I understand, but berries.
Ooh.
Berries are pretty
Amazing.
brightly colored, and they're naturally occurring.
Facts.
I don't feel like we need to necessarily say brightly colored things aren't good, though historically it seems that's true. I was born in Latvia. Every morning my mom cooked porridge or an omelet for breakfast. Wow. I had pancakes, or mostly just cereal to be honest.
Yeah.
And added fruit or berries. Wow. School lunch was a healthy food too, like mashed potatoes with meat and salad. I mean, Latvia, tallest women in the world, I believe, from Latvia. I was allowed junk food sometimes, like a small snack, not a full meal. And it's so strange to hear that the US junk food is just normal meals at home. And junk food with all these additives just sounds crazy. It is a different culture, okay?
I ain't gonna lie, I will say to you, at one point, American did switch like school lunches to more healthier. And while I was there eating the lunches, I did not like it. I understand the benefits to the actual students, and you know what I'm saying? It's a much better option than what they were serving before. But, oh my gosh, I was like, give me what I had before, because this is just not good. It just, I guess they didn't know how to make healthier foods as good. And so I didn't enjoy it. But, yeah. Breakfast, I had a lot of pancake syrup sauce, which you can get now. You can find your syrup with way less calories, sugar-free syrup, and you can do all that. You learn how to figure out, I guess, how to eat healthy, but still how to enjoy the same things you were eating. You just gotta do a little research into certain products. But I understand what he's saying. I did eat a lot of junk food as a kid, a lot of snacks, completely ran through them. So I feel you. I feel where you're going, Dizzy.
Junk food with all these additives just sounds crazy. It is a different culture, okay? We have huge amounts of companies that are able to just make anything that they want, that at the end of the day, their goal is to make profit. So if they can find things that people like that aren't healthy, well, as long as they're addictive. Also,
there you go.
You sound like you have very, very healthy nutrition and diet. Wow. I think I'm somewhere in the middle. The really horrible thing is that as an American who poor, there often aren't better choices. The processed junk food, which we know isn't good for us, is so much cheaper than actual real food. And if you aren't in a small town like we are, well, the stores might not even stock decent food. Our produce section is abysmal, and it's quite common for there to be rotten/spoiled food on the shelves. And I refuse to buy some produce more than a day ahead of time because it will absolutely turn overnight. Our food situation is horrible. What? I find this almost hard to believe. In the USA, regardless of your small town, food produce is spoiling on the shelves. I feel like if that was a thing, you could just film it, take pictures of it, and that would be all over the nightly news. I really, really find it hard to believe that this comment is real based on the US. Because that really is abysmal. That being said, there is a lot of truth to the fact that a lot of times the heavily processed foods are going to be so much cheaper, which is really upsetting. Like, we did a video where we looked at the prices of US and UK groceries, and the fact that potatoes, meats, chickens, so much cheaper in the UK. It's easy for me living here, just quickly get some cheap vegetable produce than it is in the US, in which, man, at that price, especially if you're living alone, maybe you just have one other person, you might as well just keep getting that takeaway, which is so unhealthy. So that makes sense.
Yes, I did. I stopped getting a takeaway, but that's me living alone. I think the only fruits that produce that went bad for me was like strawberries that went bad pretty quickly. They probably went bad in like 2 or 3 days if I hadn't eaten them. But the other produce, I guess, but I don't know that person's town, so I can't speak on their grocery store that they go to. But for me, the other produce wasn't that. They didn't really turn that quickly. But yeah, I completely the processed food is a lot cheaper. I'm saying the unhealthy food is a lot cheaper than the healthy food. I said in another video, regular loaf of bread I pay like $1.20 at most. Like I get loaves of bread for 99 cents. Once you start eating healthier, got this like 45 calorie bread. It's supposed to be healthy, and it's like $4 a loaf. So it's like 4 times what the loaves I was getting before was.
Might as well just keep getting that takeaway, which is so unhealthy. So that makes sense.
Ah, yes. I did slip a little bit in my video in which essentially I just wanted to make a joke about spinach and nettles being in the dish. I knew it wasn't flavoring it, but we have nettles and spinach in Fruit Loops are to make the green color, not the flavor. Yeah, I pretty much, I figured that out. But also I was like, either way as a kid, regardless of flavor or color, seeing spinach and or nettles in the dish, in the ingredients, nah, I got this comment quite a lot. E-numbers aren't necessarily bad. Of course they're not. E-numbers represent all food additives. But for the way that it's used in the UK, you pretty much only say E-numbers when it's negative ones. That's just colloquially how it's used. So if you say like, oh gosh, have you seen the E-numbers in this? They're not talking about paprika. You know, they're not talking about cinnamon. They're pretty much going to be talking about the food dyes and things that shouldn't necessarily be in there, if that makes any sense. Don't know how it's used in the rest of Europe, but usually E-numbers, when it's used, just bring it up out of the wild, is referring to the negative stuff. Yeah, and then MDX followed up right here. It says, yeah, but when we mention it, we're referring to bad ones. Pretty much that. Even though the accent still says American, the intricate knowledge of humble dock leaf shows the true Britishness running weird fake facts. On the dyes causing rashes thing, when I was 4, I had a reaction like this to strawberry milk.
Oh,
For
wow.
years, I thought I was allergic to strawberry milk, or even strawberries, my favorite fruit. However, it wasn't until much later I found out it wasn't the strawberries, it was in fact the red dye 40. Now I'm bringing up this comment in particular because it made me have a Jimmy Neutron brain blast of nostalgia. I also had this exact situation happening from red dye 40. I remember as a kid breaking out in hives. My complete face was covered in hives. My mom was freaking out, and it was because of the food dye. I think it was in a red velvet cake or something like that.
That's so
some
good.
type of soda. I genuinely can't remember. I just remember my mom absolutely freaking out, and that's just a common thing. Certain food dyes that are totally legal in the US in foods can give children massive hives. I had them myself.
Oh my
and then you grow out of
God.
it. Why not just not put that in a dish? That's wild.
Red velvet cake is absolutely amazing. It's absolutely incredible. But yeah, if it's giving people hives, like that's baffling. Like why? Like he said, why would you allow that?
It's like some Harry Potter level stuff from like the Weasley twins, just are allowed. Whenever I'm in the US, I'm from the UK, for long periods of time to see my wife's family. TMI, I have literally the worst bowel movements for weeks from the food over there. Yeah.
It is TMI.
I went on a road trip in February to LA, and TMI. It took me like 5 days to have one bowel movement. The food there is just so awful. It's not just because I'm choosing to eat awful food. It's just so much more difficult, especially if you don't have a kitchen, if you are like visiting, if you're traveling, you're going to be eating out at different restaurants. It is so difficult to find things that aren't incredibly unhealthy for you just out and about. So yeah, gut health was absolutely in the dumps. The 80s UK food had those bright colors. I remember custard cream biscuits in bright red, green, and blue. What? This? You guys ate this? Okay? I'm gonna be honest. That looks like it slaps, okay? I want some.
I swear to God,
right now,
I would take that.
Way better than bourbon creams, however you pronounce it.
I would take that.
I will stand true. Also, if you're a 90s kid, don't tell me you didn't absolutely love green and purple Shrek ketchup. Listen, that was a dream as a kid. I want my hot dog to be green with Shreks.
I was a 90s kid, and I've never even seen that.
Oh, God. It was so good, though. Shrek, come on my hot dog. I'm sorry, but why do you pour milk through a tiny hole? If you guys didn't see, yes, this looks silly. This isn't.
I didn't understand it either.
Cancel me. I'm so sorry. I'm not normally like this. It was just, I don't know why the milk was like that. I think the day before I'd opened it just with a little bit for some reason. Can't remember why. Maybe I was just trying to pour a tiny bit for the coffee I'd had. But I was like, I'll have milk to this coffee. And then as soon as I set up my camera to film, I noticed that the lighting looked absolutely beautiful, perfect. The sunset was coming in and giving me a nice rim on my side. And I was like, I only have about 1 minute to get the shot before it ends. And so I just immediately turned on the camera, started pouring the milk. And a lot of people thought it curdled. I'm sorry. I am someone that likes leaving the little film on the milk, the butter, the yogurt. I'm the guy. I love this cool British accent.
Whose?
I'm sorry? Sorry, what the f*** you on about, mate? BHG exists. Trans femmes. Slams credit card on the counter. Hold on, did that BVO source say it's unlikely people will drink more than 2 liters of the soda a day? It's extremely likely to drink more than that in a day. Well, I'd say for the sad state of many Americans right now that think 2 liters of soda is acceptable to drink over the course of a day.
It is unacceptable. However, as a kid, all the way throughout college, there were many days where I'm probably drinking more than 2 liters of soda a day. I was always getting exercise. I was always very active, whether it be sports or anything. But there were many a days where 2 liters of soda a day was just like not a big deal. Now, as that I've left college and I want to be healthier, I look at it, I'm like, this is all the soda I drink in a day. 7.5 ounces of soda a day. Other than that, it's just water. It's just water. I've learned from my mistakes.
That state of many Americans right now that think 2 liters of soda is acceptable to drink over the course of a day. The FDA is normally pretty good at overshooting the averages. Not really. But they think 2 liters is too much. People buy 2-liter bottles and drink them. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but Americans drink the super big gulp. It's almost like a joke, but it's a real thing you can get at 7-Eleven. And I know people that would get this every Sunday. Super big gulp full of diet soda, which means it's acceptable. It's literally a half gallon of soda. Yes, definitely crazy that people drink that all the time. And if it's like, don't drink 2 liters or it's dangerous, and people are always drinking this, I just can't believe that's still legal. And lastly, the comment that really honestly blew my mind. Wow, your faith in the FDA is mind-boggling. I would be curious as to how your videos are funded and by whom. Perhaps you work for some big agricultural/governmental lobbying interests. What? This is one of those cases where you really have to be sad about the education
I thought they were joking.
of people. Did anyone think that I was pro FDA in that video?
No.
The amount of sarcasm. I was so incredibly sarcastic that time.
That has to be a joking comment. It had, because he was definitely very anti-FDA in that video.
I was like, but the FDA says it's fine. The FDA supported by lobbyist money. But somehow, there's a lot of dumb people out there.
But as a special note, I just want to say thank you guys so much for joining my community recently, commenting, subscribing, all that. My channel is doing really, really well for once, and it's just really nice. So thank you. I feel like I make content on all these different things, and so people subscribing now like, sweet, a food blogger. Not really. This is just what I'm really interested in at the moment. Probably because I'm cutting, and so I'm just constantly thinking about food. But
I feel that.
I'll see you here on my channel next Sunday. If you want, you can watch one of these, videos. Other than that, I will see you next week. Goodbye.
Literally, when I was cutting, all I could think about was food, and how to. The thing I thought about most was eating healthy, right? Of course, but getting the most food out of a certain amount of calories that I was allowed. So it was like, how can I fit the most volume of food into these amount of calories? And so that was my number one thought, because I eat a lot and I'm hungry. And so when I was cutting, I kept it, because I probably kept it to like 1,800 calories a day. I didn't go past 1,800 calories a day, which was tough for someone like me Now it's sitting at about 21 to 2200 because I'm just really trying to maintain my weight. So that's all we got. You guys got a favorite video suggestion? You can subscribe to Patreon or drop it in the comment section. Subscribe to the channel, ring notification bell, get a video a thumbs up so it gets suggested. It's your boy Neal, out.